The headlight switch is fairly straightforward. It just has off, automatic, parking, and then headlights. So it's just a turn switch there. Now the dimmer switch for the gauge cluster, it's more than just a gauge cluster. It does these backlit buttons and stuff as well. But there's a shortcut to it here at the top. You just pull down, and right now I have it at 100%. So let's kind of back it down. So you can see these backlit buttons will bring, you can see those getting dimmer as well. So there's the lowest position there. Now with the gauge cluster, it's kind of like a suggestion. It doesn't really give you too much control over the gauge cluster. It has like this auto dim feature, and sometimes it's too dim. But yeah, that's just the way it is. Now you notice it has these ambient lights. You can see I have them set to red right now. So let's go here to vehicle, and then we go to settings. And then this is where we can adjust the ambient light. And we have, you can set it to manual, automatic, or change with the drive modes, or off completely. You can set the brightness for the door or the dash separately. Then you can change the colors here. So there's a blue, purple, kind of cycle through here so you can see what it looks like. There's a pink, blue, purple, blue, teal, green, yellow, orange, red, and then white. It's kind of cool. So yeah, we'll just keep it on blue. Now it's really a theme because it's on the screen here and it's also on the screen. So you can see that blue line there. So when I change it, it'll change it to red so you can see that it changes. And here on the screen as well. So in addition to the ambient light, it also has that little theme change as well. Also under the settings, you have a light settings here, where you can turn on off your cornering light, convenience turn signals, headlights, automatic headlight control during rain. So yeah, you can adjust that. This is the actual place where the cluster and panel lighting is. But the other place I showed you is a shortcut pulling down from the top. When you approach the vehicle with the key, it has a full proximity system. And when you get to a certain point, it'll allow you access to the vehicle. Like it'll allow you to lock it and unlock the doors and everything, but there's no lights that just automatically turn on when you approach. It doesn't sense you and sense the key and start turning lights on. Hit the unlock button here. It turns on the interior lights, and then we have the exterior lights on as well, tail lights and headlights. Now I have the parking lights on. It's a very sharp light, and it's kind of like we have accent lights. We also have a light bar in the front, but this outer part right there, I don't know if you can tell, it's like blowing out the camera. It's so bright. So let me dim it down a little bit so you can see what's going on. So this outer part right here is bright, and then that right there, the light bar is not quite as bright. And then you have this little accent that's down here with the headlight, kind of looking pretty cool. But yeah, that is some bright lights right there. I'm not sure if they'll be mistaken for headlights or not. We'll look at that in a few minutes, but yeah, looking pretty cool with the light bar connecting everything. The center part right here is not very bright, or at least it's relative to the outer part. It's not that bright. The outer part is very bright. You can see there is an amber side marker here as well, but it kind of like gets outshined by that bright white light right above it. There's a tail light, there's a little side marker right here you can see, but the tail light kind of wraps around to the side of the vehicle. So you can see it from the side and the back. But yeah, this is really nice. Nice deep red. And it has a illuminated badge back here in red. Looking really nice. Kind of looks orangey on camera, but it's a nice deep red. All these taillights are nice and deep red, looking good. Very impressive. Tag lights are now on as well. The turn signal here in the front is amber in color, and it basically replaces that bright white light we saw. So it is fairly bright, not quite as bright as that white light, but it is bright and it's large on the vehicle, so it's easily seen by other drivers and very effective. Looks good as well. Nice sharp LED, nice and bright. Now there's no turn signal indicator here on the side mirror or on the side of the vehicle at all. So you can see this one kind of wraps around to the sides. That kind of helps out with that a little bit. But the tail light here in the back is once again LED and amber in color, and it is separated from the tail lights. So it's a different color and it's separated from the tail lights. So it looks good, nice and sharp, and very bright as well. Very visible by other drivers. so that's nice. The third brake light is at the top of the glass, and then the reverse lights are integrated there in the tail lights, kind of filling in, once again, the LEDs. Okay, so you can see the ground in front of the vehicle has light on it. And I don't have the headlights on yet. I just have the parking lights. So let's go ahead and turn everything off here. Okay, so when I turn the headlight switch off position, even when the vehicle's on, we still can't turn any of the lights off, basically. It just, basically what it does is it turns off the tail lights and everything else except for these bright lights here in the front. So you could potentially have the headlights off, and then these bright lights think you have your headlights on, driving around with no tail lights. You've seen people do that before. So this is one of those type of vehicles that could happen. Okay, so let's go to the low beams there. So there's the low beams, there's the high beams, and you can see a little bit of a jaggedness to it, but we'll see how it performs on the road. But the low beams are a projector. So you can see it's a single projector here, right in here, and it's kind of right above that little accent light. So yeah, it just has one single projector on each side. That light bar connecting everything. It's looking pretty good, All right, so we dip down, yeah, so about 2.5, 3 feet off the ground is where the cutoff is. But yeah, single projector, you know, I've seen some that work okay, but you know, we'll see how they actually perform on the road. In the settings, as a cornering light, it's not turning on now, so it might be vehicle doesn't have it, or maybe we have to be driving for it to illuminate. We'll see what it looks like on the test drive. But let's go ahead and switch to the high beams now. All right, so the high beams are, not only do we have the projector here, but we also have this additional light that turns on here. You see it right there, turns on. So it's like a triple reflector, basically. So yeah, it's looking pretty bright right now looking at it. but yeah, triple reflector, plus you have that projector there. So yeah, that has some potential. You know, because we have additional light in addition to the projector for the high beams. And you know, sometimes reflectors work well for high beams, so we'll see. So the cargo area just has a single light here on the right side. So one light, and that's it, and it's in this low position here. So, if you can tell, we have some issues. For one thing, we have dark spots. So this area right here is dark, dark around the edges, dark over here, and whatever we put in the center is gonna cast shadows to the other side. So that's the problem with having single light. Also having it in that low position helps with casting shadows. And let's say we wanna look into a suitcase, we lift this lid, the light's not very high, so we have, you know, no light actually going into a suitcase or something. So yeah, you know, pretty poor, really. I mean, it's better than nothing, but it definitely could be improved. A single light right here, just right there, would look shining down. It's bright enough and has a good spectrum. You know, good broad spectrum would be better. You know, the better coverage, right? So you have one light right there, and it just shines light everywhere, and it's nice and bright. That would have been way better than just a single light here. So definitely a poor design. Definitely could be improved. Inside of the back door, there's no puddle lights, no light shining on the ground to show you what you're gonna step on when you get out of the vehicle. There's no lights here on the door at all. Not even a light for the, yeah, none of the button there for the window, nothing, absolutely nothing here on the door. Now the light back here is coming, just a single light on each side, one on each side, so there's two lights each side of the sunroof. And it gives you a little bit of light here, but dark floorboard, not all that great. And we have a illuminated USB port and a little storage cubby that's not illuminated. So yeah, this could be improved. It's not completely bad, but it's not great either. The inside of the front door, once again, no puddle light, no approach light, nothing like that. And we do have backlit buttons here, but no pocket lights. There's some ambient light there. No floorboard illumination, and the only light here in the front is coming from basically the map lights. So there's no like dedicated dome light or anything like that. We have more issues continuing on. I'll show you in a second. So the door opened with the interior lights on, so you can see what it looks like from my perspective here. So we'll go ahead and shut the door. Interior lights fade out. It's nice. And yeah, so we're left with the backlit buttons, ambient light, and no other lights basically. Okay, so the steering wheel is fine. It looks better at nighttime during the day than during the day. The gauge cluster is okay at nighttime. Looking good. The screen looks fine. Let's go ahead and show you the camera real fast. See what that looks like. Not too bad. As far as nighttime is fine. I mean, it's not the greatest camera in the world, but nighttime is fine. It's just as good as day, really. And then the backlit buttons down here look really good. Now there is a wireless charger down here. There's no light. It just had those USB ports that are illuminated. And you know, there's no like moonlight or anything like that going on. You can't even see anything really. The center console, no light. So let me turn on the interior light real fast. So yeah, even with the interior light on, it's not really that great. So yeah, there's no light in this compartment. Here, yeah, glove compartment does have a light. Surprised at this point. So up here we have, so you can see, okay, this is, all right. When you need a light at nighttime, there's a button that you have to press. And the button that you need to press when it's nighttime and you can't see anything is not illuminated. So that's a little bit of an issue. So you can see all these buttons up here are not illuminated. Specifically the light buttons, right? So this one right here turns on the lights in the back. This one turns the lights here in the front, individual right here and here. But none of them are backlit. Wow, okay, so that's an issue. Sunroof is backlit for some reason, and then the shade buttons are illuminated there, and roadside assistance buttons are illuminated. But the buttons that you specifically need when it's dark and you can't see, those are not illuminated. All right, so this has a light and a mirror, and it's actually, the light's not too bad. It's bright enough to illuminate my face without blinding me, so that's well done. Okay, so there's the headlight pattern on this fence. And it looks a little bit jagged here, but it's intended to have a dip or a shadow on the oncoming lane. We'll see how that lines up while we're driving. And it looks like the cutoff is a little high, but there's go to the high beams, low beams. But it doesn't, I hadn't seen a cornering light, but it does have the motion headlights. So the headlights will move back and forth. Kind of gimmicky, not really that useful, but it does have them. You can, as I go forward, you can see they move, you know. So you can just move with the steering wheel, basically. Like me personally, I prefer static headlights. Lights that give you light everywhere automatically. You don't have to move it back and forth like a flashlight. Which these so far seem to be giving me light in most places. The left and right motion doesn't really change the view that much. All right, but yeah, the cutoff looks a little high, but we'll see. Might not be that big a deal. All right, so let's look at that shadow here. Yeah, it's lining up with the oncoming lane. It's not very deep shadow, but it has one. All right, let's see something here. Yeah, it has auto leveling headlights as well. So as I floor it, the headlights push down a little bit to keep them from going up too high. So that helps out with the cutoff looking a little high. As long as it's not actually shining in the windshield, then we're fine, since it has the auto leveling headlights. So yeah, a lot of complexity there in those headlights with the motion and the auto leveling feature and all that stuff. We'll see how they actually perform though when you're on a dark road. Okay, so right now the low beams, they look adequate. You know, I mean, I can see on the sides of the road. They're not super bright or anything, but they seem to be adequate. I can see on the sides of the road. In the middle of the road, there's a tiny bit of patchiness, but considering we have 2 projectors and that's it, it's fine. All right, let's go to the high beams. Yeah, those are really good. Those are actually pretty good. They're really high too, so on a level surface like this, the high beams with the light going really high doesn't really help much. But if you're going up hills, as you're going up and down hills, that high light of the high beams can help illuminate the road ahead more, because you're this, you know, the steep hill in front of you, right? But yeah, I can see the trees in the distance, and it's basically adding additional light, which helps out a lot, because low beams are not all that bright, but they are good. They're fine. So yeah, these are, I would say these are in the adequate range as far as headlights. The high beams are a little bit better, more impressive than the low beams, but yeah, that's looking pretty good. And so far, hadn't had any, doesn't look like they're actually too high. It just might have been my perspective, but it seems like they're working fine. And the motion, you know, like it doesn't really, it's not really doing much, right? But yeah, it just kind of moves back and forth, and you know, you already have good illumination either way, so moving it left and right doesn't make much of a difference. All it does is move that shadow on my lane sometimes. So yeah. But yeah, the high beams are, I'm kind of surprised, you know, I'm kind of surprised. These are actually better than I thought they were going to be. So let's go back to low beams. There's the high beams. Yeah, this is pretty good. Well, the single projector, sometimes, you know, it's a little bit of an issue, but having those 3 reflectors joining in is apparently worked really well. So yeah, I would say that, you know, these are in the adequate range, you know. They're not spectacular, but they are not bad. I mean, like, I've seen cheaper vehicles with better headlights, but you know, and that's like so very surprising to me. But I've also seen very expensive vehicles with way worse headlights. So yeah, these are pretty good. These are, you know, adequate range. The motion left and right, you know, like, it doesn't, I wish they would have just take that additional cost and put it in actually, you know, having better lights and interior lights and stuff, but and just have static headlights that don't move, but just give you good illumination in front of the vehicle, which they already do. I mean, if you take these and fix these headlights, they're fine. You know, the motion doesn't really add anything. And, you know, it's kind of neat to see them move back and forth when you're turning or whatever, but you know, it's not really, yeah, it's not really a big deal. You know, you already have good illumination already, so moving the light, you know, 4 or 5 feet left and right, it's not going to make a difference really.